today's lesson is to serve and protect, a police for us all. Last month we talked about love of self, significant others, and family. This month is about showing love for our community with our special series on mending the relationship between community and law enforcement. Please welcome to the show my very special guest, Judge Ramona Taylor, my co-host for this special series. She's going to be with me for all 4 episodes, so I want to give an amazing sort of thank you to her.
You're welcome.
Also, we have Sergeant Diana Tharp, Chesapeake Police Department, Captain Tony Yarbrough, Virginia Beach Police Department, Captain Eric Randall, Newport News Police Department, and Officer Christopher Tavares, Norfolk Police Department. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. Thank you to your departments for offering you up as well.
Thank you for having us.
Good morning. There has been many panels and news programs focusing on police, African Americans, the use of force, equality, and a focus on our differences rather than on healing. The world can be a very scary place, and when chaos happens, who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters? No, that was supposed to be funny. Y'all were supposed to laugh, okay? But many people do not call for help. Some people are afraid to call 911 for help, or others have had negative experiences with the law enforcement. But today, we hope that we're going to open up your mind and your heart so you can see all the wonderful work that our officers are doing in the community and all that the community can do to help ourselves. That's something that's really important to me, that we again talk about healing. It's time for us to open our mind and our heart to strengthen our community, not with hate, but with knowledge, respect for one another, and love for your fellow neighbor. Thank you again for joining me for It's Life Changing. Let's get into our discussion. I want to talk about this concept as I talked to one of you. I think it was, we talked about the warrior versus the guardian. Something that was on my mind when I was thinking about doing this show. Many people see the police as the ones who are supposed to serve and protect. And I remember having this conversation with people before all of this happened. But then, and I was at one of the panels that actually Judge Taylor had put together, and one of the officers was talking about how the training is around sort of being a warrior. And I said, well, there's a difference. You know, when I think warrior, I think 300, gladiator, you know, and when I think of to serve and protect, I think of then my friendly officer who is gonna help me, is gonna serve and protect me. And some people, there's a discrepancy, you know, in obviously that model. So help me understand sort of what that's all about, that warrior versus the guardian.
Okay, from the city of Virginia Beach, Captain Tony Yarbrough. Basically, the warrior versus the guardian mindset is something that has been a concept that has been driven by the 21st Century Policing Report, and many agencies are picking up on that spirit. The spirit is that we want to be part of the community. Being part of the community is that we have the mindset of wanting to be there to assist all of our citizens equally and protecting all of our citizens equally. The city of Virginia Beach, we've adopted a program. I'm actually wearing my pin here, the crisis intervention team training, where we're dealing with persons who are in crisis, a mental health crisis, and it's basically just one of the concepts is just making sure that we're able to assist our citizens best we can. So being a guardian of the community, not having a siege upon our city, which was the difference between a guardian and a warrior.
Okay.
And just to piggyback off what Captain Yarbrough talked about, I'm Captain Eric Randall, Newport News Police Department, and one of the big things, focus for us in law enforcement, specifically in Newport News, and I talk specifically from the community that I work in, the Southeast community of Newport News, is building relationships and building partnerships.
Yes.
And we're doing that a number of ways in law enforcement. And as we build the partnerships and the relationships, it shows the communities the guardian mindset and the guardian style that as police and law enforcement professionals, that how we're working hard to make the community a safer place.
Yes, yes. Do you believe that most police officers take on the role of warrior rather than protector? From your experience and working in the field, do you think, where's the mindset after training?
Well, in my career, I've been a community resource officer for the majority of my career.
Awesome.
I've been assigned to the public housing community.
Okay.
I myself, I play the guardian role for the most part, because I am that bridge between citizen and police. I have to be that familiar face
Yes.
for the community, so I can actually help them out. Majority of the time is kind of lack of knowledge. People don't know that they're being hurt or what's going on with them. So I have to be that mediator, the person to explain to them what's really going on. You need to correct this. Let's help you out. So I play the guardian role for the most part.
That's really good that you said that, because it's interesting. That's what I mean. Some people don't know. So if I can't call you for help, then where do I go? When I'm in a domestic violence situation, I'm in trouble. If I can't call the police, and there are some people who feel like I can't call. And from my standpoint, especially with mental health, I need them to be able to call. Whatever the situation is, feel safe enough to call. So on this show, our goal is to help people to see that it's safe to call when you're in trouble. Call. I don't know what your grandmother told you. I don't know what your mother told you, but I need you when you're in trouble to seek help, whether it's from me or from them. Okay? Do you want to add to that as well?
I'm Sergeant Diana Thorpe with Chesapeake Police, and to me, warrior and guardian kind of take on the same definition. As a warrior, you know, we took an oath when we became sworn,
Yes.
but we chose to do that.
Yes.
So I think they fall hand in hand.
Yes.
And we teach officers from the very beginning, it's okay to get out of the car, communicate, go talk to the
Love it.
kids,
Yes.
go spend time on the porch with an elderly female sitting on the porch.
Yes.
Get out of the car, move around, be seen, do whatever it takes, help a lady out of Walmart, put her stuff in the car.
Yes.
Whatever it takes to do, we're hands-on.
Yes.
And that's what we're leaning towards more. Don't be afraid to talk,
Yes.
because the more people talk to us, the more comfortable they are.
Yes.
They're not so apprehensive about calling when they are in crisis.
Which is what we want. Wonderful.
Well, I've heard a lot about the guardian versus the warrior, and I'm wondering now how many other police departments have the philosophies that all of you have, that it's better to be the guardian. It's better to, you know, to have the public view you as helpers, as people who are there to save them when they're having difficulty. And you, of course, we've all seen the news stories over the past year or so. So I'm wondering, you know, all of you have the guardian philosophy. What do you think when you see cases on the news, you know, like Michael Brown in Ferguson or Eric Gardner, or the case of Freddie Gray in Baltimore? You know, what goes through your mind as officers with a guardian philosophy when you see cases like that?
Well, for me, first thing that I think about is just the impact that it's going to have on that particular community. And any city or any entity can probably be faced with a crisis such as the Freddie Gray that you speak about, the Michael Brown. But what you have to have an ongoing positive relationship already established with your faith-based community, with your civic leagues, with your stakeholders in the community, in order so that you can prevent the misinformation from getting out. Sometimes the misinformation leads to the inappropriate activity that is just trying to find a redress, such as the rioting in the street where other people are harmed, other people are killed, other property is damaged, and you haven't really got to the sole cause of the incident itself. Well, we have to have a serious dialogue about the training of our law enforcement. Our training of our law enforcement has to have those things in place already, so that the officers have the proper tools. And the tools that they have to have is, first off, is being able to communicate, being able to talk to people on every different level, because the population that we normally come across all the time are those persons that are in a need. And sometimes they're not able to express that need in an appropriate manner. But when they come across a person in need, the officer needs to have the training and the resources in order to provide that assistance that the person needs. So again, like I said, one of the things you have to have that relationship already founded and built up in the community, so that the officers and your department is looking towards solving the problems that are most, how would you say, the problems of the citizen, not always are the main goals of the organization or the police department.
And I love that question because I always try to educate people that, on the police officers side, you all are people too, You woke up this morning in your pajamas, you put on your suit, I put on my dress, and before that, you were an uncle or a father or a mother or a daughter or a son. And, that's really important for people to understand, that behind, this is my uniform, this is what I do, and I love what I do, but I'm also a person. So, how does that affect you? Like, you're also a person. And so people are saying, you'd be offended if someone says, those people, how does that make you feel being a part of that group and people, sort of pointing the finger and making you feel uneasy about what you love to do?
If I could, I'd like to touch on that because I think people do forget that we bleed just like they do.
Yes.
We go through crises. We get diagnosed with cancer. We lose loved ones,
Yes.
and we deal with it just like everybody else does.
Yes.
But we chose this profession. It's a calling for all of us, just like whatever profession you have. And we want people to understand that this is a calling for me and my
Yes.
brothers and sisters. But I am human. We are just like everybody else. We all had to drive our cars into traffic this morning
Yes.
and obey the laws just like everybody else has to do. But people really need to see that. And with us, and you talked about training, Captain, it starts with compassion.
Yes.
And that's what we stress that a lot, that you have to have compassion.
Yes.
And able to do this, you have to have common sense, but
Yes.
you have to have compassion
Yes.
for other human beings.
Exactly.
And treat everybody. My philosophy is you treat everybody like you want them to treat your grandmother.
Exactly.
And then you can't go wrong from that.
Exactly. I love that. Do you want to say anything?
Well, to answer your question, I try to not criticize, regardless of the fact, but I think everyone would agree we take a hit nationwide
Yes.
as law enforcement.
You do.
Yes.
So I think here we go again back to our training when it comes down to warrior and guardian. I have to remain vigilant and wake up every morning thinking I'm doing something positive.
Exactly.
This is for the better. Yeah, one of my brothers and sisters have made a slight mistake, but we're not all the same. We're all people. I
Yeah.
woke up just like everyone else.
Yeah.
I eat 3 times a day. I sleep, I wake up,
Yeah.
and just you have to remain strong in your
Yes.
belief that we're doing something positive and making a change.
Yeah, and I want to encourage all of you that are here and those who are watching that you are doing great work, and it's not always easy. As I always tell my students, it's not easy being me. It's not easy being a person who gives and who cares about other people. There are days when I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore, God. I'm tired of taking care of other people. I have some other things going on in my life, and it's not easy. So you know what, today I don't want to do it. And then, I get up and I do it. And as you can see here, I am still giving. And so, we have a calling, as you called it, in our lives and with our purpose. And so for those who are watching too, who, feel a certain way about what's going on in the world, remember that calling. Remember that you have something great that you're supposed to do. And so you have to put extra effort. I have to put extra effort into what I do because I am a leader. And that's important because we do what we do, we're leaders. And so that's important for you to remember as well on your side. Something you want to add?
Yeah, and the key to it all is building relationships, communicating with the community, and creating those partnerships, and harnessing the use of social media and technology.
Yes.
And one of the things I found, I had to get out of my shell and go on Twitter. And as a precinct commander, we have a Twitter account
Oh,
for the
do
Southeast
you?
community.
Go
And
ahead.
it creates a way for us to reach the virtual community because there are so many people that stay connected to the community that don't
Right.
live there anymore. So that's been a very good asset for us as well. But one of the things, one of my goals and one of the missions that I put out to my officers is ask yourself every day, what have I done to make the community a better place?
Yes, I love that. What have you done today to make the community a better place? And I want to now move into the training because Captain Yarbrough sort of started on that with us. But what type of training is being offered to improve the understanding of people with mental health concerns or trauma or just issues? It's not always easy. You wake up again, you go out to do your job, and you're just thinking you're going to go and do whatever, but then you run into somebody who's in crisis. And what kind of training do we have now that you're doing?
Well, many agencies have picked up on what we call the crisis intervention training. That
I see you have your CIT badge there.
yes, and it's a 40-hour block of training where we actually are working with mental health practitioners, and we actually go talk to some of their clients and talk to them, and we actually put on earphones, which puts us in a schizophrenic state,
Okay.
where you're hearing all of these sounds, and it gives you the idea of what a person
Is
in
going
that
through.
crisis could be going through. On top of that, we've also received training in what we call juvenile perspectives,
Okay.
because dealing with the juvenile mind is a very tricky thing. Judge Taylor was a juvenile judge for many a years,
Yes.
and we have to understand that the juvenile mind is not fully developed.
Yes.
So some of the things that they do may seem a little odd to us adults, but it's practical or it's reasonable for them to do what they're doing.
Yes.
Another thing that we've touched upon is that we're dealing with what we call implicit bias training. We had Dr. Lori Friedel out of the Perf Institute, and what she did, she had a 2-day session that she did training with our department, where we had community stakeholders, we had ministers, we had business professionals that partnered up with the police department.
Yes.
And what we were able to see is that everyone, I mean, if you have to be honest about it, everyone has biases.
Yes.
The only
Everyone.
time,
We're all human.
Yes.
We're all human.
yes, but the time that biases become a problem is when you take that and make that
Exactly.
your decision-making
And,
process.
and Captain Yarbrough keeps wanting to go into all my topics, okay? But this series, this month, we're going to touch on social media. We're going to touch on bias. We're going to touch on some of that miscommunication. So stay tuned, because these great folks aren't going anywhere. I'm going to hold them here for our next segment of community resources, so you can get to know them a little bit better. But I want to thank you again for an awesome job that you did already this morning. So give yourself a hand. Okay. Stay tuned. We're talking about a wonderful topic in mending relationships in our community. Thank you so much for watching. It's Life Changing. We'll be right back. Welcome back to It's Life Changing. It's now time for our community resources. Again, I want to welcome to the show. Thank them so much for all the awesome information they have shared. Again, we have Judge Ramona Taylor, Sergeant Diana Tharp, Captain Tony Yarbrough, Captain Eric Randall, and Officer Christopher Taveras. They have been awesome in giving us information. And now we want to just take a few minutes. Again, they're our community. And so today I wanted to make them our community resources. So I want to start with Judge Ramona Taylor, and I've asked them to tell us a little bit about themselves and how they decided to go into law enforcement, or in Judge Taylor's case, her background in law. And she's done some amazing things. So I just wanted her to share a little bit about that, so you know a little bit about our co-host. Judge
Thank you,
Taylor?
Dr. Perry. When I was in law school, I really enjoyed the criminal procedure classes, criminal law classes, and I was just fascinated by what people do to each other, and also fascinated by the justice system, and decided that I wanted to be a prosecutor. So that was my dream job, and I kept working toward that. It ended up down here at the Virginia Beach Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and it was just a good fit. You know, you could wake up in the morning feeling like, today I'm going to make a difference, and you could go to bed at night knowing that you had made a difference. And it's just been a fascinating, really enjoyable experience, from there to the bench, and now even teaching criminal justice students and trying to impart to them just the joy of knowing you can make a difference in other people's lives.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And having started my career out in law, I changed, obviously, but I had that same passion for wanting to seek justice and help people, and sort of in law enforcement and law. However, when I was working in the law firm is when I actually found my real calling, which was actually the consoling of people and helping them figure out what they want to do, and you know that they didn't want to go down that road and those type of things. And so I changed over to psychology and became a doctor of psychology. But I have such a respect for law and have such a respect for the system, and helping people to understand it, because even now, even though like I have part of that still with me, people will call me and say, I want to sue for this. And I have to tell people, you can't sue for everything. People think you can sue for everything. You can't sue for everything, you know, and even if you can, it's not gonna, you know, come up to anything. But thank you so much for sharing that, because you've been an awesome inspiration. And I think your name was probably passed around even when I was working in the field. And of course I didn't know her then. So I'm excited that you're here with me, sharing the show with me. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm here some 28 years now, by way of by way of New York. I grew up in Queens, New York. I was born in Georgia. I spent some time in the Marine Corps before deciding to get out of the Marine Corps and settle down with my wife and my 4 children, 3 girls and a boy, and one lucky grandson.
Good for you.
But during my time here on the department, I have worked a variety of assignments. I've been at the training academy, I worked internal affairs, and now I'm a precinct commander.
Wonderful.
It has been a goal of mine to become a precinct commander, and I've achieved that goal. And it it was a goal that was set in motion some 28 years ago when I first decided to become a police officer because, like I said, I thought that was one of the best ways for me to give back to my
I
community.
think that's beautiful. Thank you so much. You get a beautiful career. That's wonderful. I bet you're glad to have that grandson, too, in there.
Well, I started off in my career serving 8 years in the Navy.
Oh,
I'm
wonderful.
originally from Florida, the Gulf
Okay.
Coast, and the
Okay.
Navy brought me to the Hampton Roads region.
Welcome.
And thank you. And while serving in the Navy, I spent some time on shore duty, and I'm all about serving the community, serving my country. So while I was on shore duty, I had an opportunity to apply and become an auxiliary officer in 1998. So I started as an auxiliary officer in 1998 with the Newport News Police Department,
Okay.
and shortly when it was time for my end of service obligation in the Navy, I became a full-time officer for Newport News.
Wonderful.
And while working here in Newport News, I had an opportunity to work my way through the ranks now to a captain where I'm the precinct commander of the Southeast community. But while working through the ranks, I've served in a variety of assignments to help the community, such things as bicycle patrol, served as a field training officer,
Wonderful.
served in vice narcotics, worked undercover, served on the FBI task force, served and led the SWAT team for a number of years here in Newport News.
Wonderful.
Worked major crimes where I was in charge of robbery, homicide, special victims, the intel unit, and the forensics as well. And recently, I shouldn't say recently, but in 2014, I had the opportunity to be promoted to captain and come back to the Southeast community as the leader of that community.
That's wonderful.
But I
Congratulations.
feel it was important, one, as a role model for the young men in the community to see that there's hope out there
Yes.
for the community.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your achievements in that, both of you. That's wonderful.
Well, I also grew up in New York City, Bronx, New York.
City people.
Yes, yes.
I'm
Growing up,
Southern, but I always whoop whoop because my husband's from the city.
I had the hobbies of playing sports, football and basketball,
Okay.
which now, as a law enforcement officer, I've been on for 3 years in Norfolk. I use that to engage my community,
Good.
especially the youth.
Yes.
They're always out there playing sports, so I play
great.
with them every single chance I get. Also, the public housing unit that I was part of, we take a group of children and take them to Virginia Wesleyan College for a week period of time.
Okay.
And we coach them, we play with them, we engage with
Good.
them, and it brings kids from all the 7 cities to interact and get to know each other and just see the difference out there.
I like that. And I love how you're using your sort of personal interests and your talents
Absolutely.
to sort of bridge those gaps.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'm a native of Virginia Beach, so I'm a
Woo-hoo.
Southern girl
That's
too.
right.
And my career started with Virginia Beach Police. So
Okay.
total, I have 28 years between Virginia Beach and
That's
Chesapeake.
awesome.
I've had a wonderful, blessed career here. I started out on the street as everybody does. I was a trainer.
Okay.
I've been in narcotics. I have been a school resource officer. I got
Okay.
promoted, and now I can proudly say that I am the first female sergeant
Yes.
that is the assistant director of training within the city of Chesapeake,
think that's
which
awesome.
I hold that with the highest. I take it and I look at myself as a mentor for anybody, not
Yes.
just females, but
Yes.
anybody can obtain whatever they want to do.
That's
You,
wonderful.
you can reach your goals. You just have to work at it. We are all given the same opportunities. You just have to work, study,
Yeah.
and press on even harder. But
It didn't happen overnight.
no, ma'am, it did not happen overnight. But no, and I encourage part of training, which is like my passion, because like I said, I was a field training officer before.
Yes.
Now I'm in charge of it. I want to encourage the officers. It's okay to laugh with a citizen and cry with a citizen,
Yes.
because we handle every type of call that you can imagine.
Yeah.
So we let them know that it's all right to be human.
Exactly.
Be hard and be soft at the same time, because
Exactly.
it makes us, again, it makes us human.
And one of the things I try to teach my up and coming counselors, the same thing, sort of that soft heart thing, is that yes, you have to sort of, you need people to respect you and what you do, because otherwise, people will try and, lie to you and tell you all sorts of things for all sorts of reasons. However, they're there for a pain. They're there for a reason. And so you have to be sort of make them, sort of respect you, but at the same time be soft enough to build rapport with them and have a relationship with them, so you can actually help them with problems that they don't even understand they have sometimes. And so I hear exactly what you're
We're
saying.
not robots.
Exactly. And so you have to build that relationship. It's okay to laugh with them. It's okay to cry with them. I tell them too, don't just say, well, tell me about your mother. Tell me about your life. No one's going to open up to you. Just being that direct. So I want to thank all of you. You have amazing careers, amazing things going on. And so I just want to say, because I don't think that you hear it enough, thank you for your service. And I think a lot of times we work the military a lot, so people say that often. But when it comes to what I call our foot soldiers who are here, I don't think you hear that enough. So to you and all those who are watching, I want to say thank you so much for your service. And for all of you who are watching the show, again, I want to say thank you for watching. It's life-changing. But I have something I need you to do. Next time you see a police officer, I want you to say, thank you for your service. And for those of you who love our social media, as we mentioned earlier, I want you to sort of go to my Facebook page. I want you to go to your Facebook page or Twitter right now, and I want you to spread this. Spread the love, not hate, okay? Spread love, not hate. I want to say God bless you all, and thank you so much for watching. It's life-changing. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode. You don't want to miss it. Thank you again to all of my guests.
Thank you.
I'll see you next time on It's Life Changing.